Talking to gangbangers, riders, and mercenaries right now. You see how eager white America is to point out the things that'll put us in conflict with one another? They're entertained by the shit that we write and say because they want to see us murk each other out. Literally. Most of us wouldn't have even caught that, and what reason does he have to point it out? So not only are we murking each other out to get to the top of this dominance hierarchy that is fame, money, and recognition, but we also have our oppressor who created this free fall circumstance for us to chase the bag by way of financial disenfranchisement, edging us on. No bullshit. None of y'all would have seen that had he not pointed it out. They want you dead. Now let's think about the image. There are certain boys and men that are going to try to fit the aesthetic of gangster regardless of whether it's beneficial to our image or not. So we can't help and save them. Why? Because that's a decision that you have to make on your own. Either you want to stop doing what you're doing or you don't want to start to begin with. But relative to already being that, nah, you got to make a decision to stop yourself. But for the men that don't want to be that image, what does it do to us? We get lumped in all the same. So when you talk about things like white privilege and people like Jordan Peterson try to act like they don't understand what it means, this is an example of one. White men, regardless of how much murder they have wrought throughout the earth, will never have to run from the image of being murderers. And they've committed the most. On everybody. But a black man died of gang-related violence, and black men are violent. Why? Because there's a media corporation everywhere, regardless of whether it being social or mainstream, that will promote this image. Understand this, he might be covering hip-hop culture, but he is not hip-hop. Put money on it, he don't even know the 5 elements of hip-hop. Now sure, he'll Google it before I even said that, but in all actuality, before I asked it, he had no fucking idea. Hell, most of y'all didn't. DJ Vlad is not hip-hop. None of these white men that are shedding light on our problems are part of us. This man literally laughed at it, and laughed at what, may I ask? Is it the fact that one of our kings is gone? Is it the fact that he thought the challenge was bold? Or is it simply the fact that he managed to find it? They glorify us killing each other the same way we do. I expect them to do what they do. But us doing it is something deeper. We call it Stockholm Syndrome. Remember when Malcolm X was talking about how the house slave would act? He'll come into the room and see that Massa's sick, and the first thing he'll say is, "What's wrong, Massa? We's sick." Meanwhile, the field slave was outside saying, "So what? Let him be sick. We trying to get up out of this captivity." Massa gave the house slave the attic to sleep in, while the field slave had to sleep in slave quarters. And that's the same thing that they're doing today. This is but an example of what residual effects of slavery will do to you psychologically. Honestly, what is the difference between this white man's initiative to point this out and his amusement in our conflict and Leonardo DiCaprio's character in Django when he had 2 black men fight to the death in front of him? To me, they both found it equally as entertaining as the other. Decide for yourself. I don't care about our image to white people. I care about our image to ourselves. Or maybe I need to speak your language. Soldiers don't move. Tekashi 6ix9ine is a snitch and everybody knows it. His karma will catch up to him one day. But as far as losing another black man to the streets or to prison, it ain't worth it. This is chess, not checkers. Bars.